And
What's
welcome
up?
back
What up?
to Worlds 2023.
It's your boys.
It's your boys. We
Back at it again.
back at it again for another cast. How you doing?
Great.
Feeling good at home?
Oh,
If you're
not
a
you're
BDS
not
fan.
asking me.
Probably feeling great. If you're a CFO fan, you're probably like, why don't you push your buttons more? And I get that. And that's what we're going to see if it changes coming into Game 2. Credit to BDS. It wasn't the flashiest way to play a game of League of Legends, but it was clean. It was controlled. It was disciplined. And it was exactly what we kind of expected their composition to do.
Yeah, there's been I was scrolling Twitter as I often do between breaks, and there's a question of, was that a commanding win or not? Was a debate that people were having. And it's hard to say, because from a win probability perspective, if you pulled that up, they were almost always in control of the entire game.
Yeah.
They would have control of almost every moment of that game, barring the moment where they almost could have lost the game in that one team fight. So you say, yes, they could have lost the game. How is that possibly a commanding win? But at the same time, from pure minutes spent in control, BDS commanded.
BDS were winning for 70% of that game, 80% of that game.
Yeah, exactly. Even, I would say, like, probably 95%.
Yeah.
Because they turned that gank around the bot side early on. They weathered the one couple aggressive plays that CFO made, and then controlled the rest of the game from there. And from that perspective, it was commanding, yes. From the perspective of, they did lose multiple team fights, and maybe if CFO was slightly more even in neutral objectives, they easily could have lost that game. So it's kind of a Schrodinger's commanding game.
I appreciate you defending my final call, because I think
I'll go to war
fault.
for you.
Yeah?
I don't care what it is.
Damn.
Am I making any sense? I don't care. It's not my. It's not what I'm doing. But anyways, the point being, in all honesty, they controlled that game for 95% of it, even if there was that one moment where they could have lost.
And okay, regardless of commanding or not,
Yeah.
this is something that CFO need to address, because I think this is why we're seeing the pivot specifically to the Sejuani here, where they say, hey, look, this Maokai ult, champion's been out for too long. People understand how this thing works. They just back up, and we have no other follow-up engage past Rel. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see ShiauC again on some proactive engage champion, as pretty standard in this meta. I wouldn't mind seeing a hook champion, but I just don't know how likely it is. Paired with Sejuani, it's going to be a lot easier to force fights. That said, doesn't mean conceding kind of the safest blind pick top laner at the moment, which is the Renekton. You mentioned it in the first game. Not a lot of people are super psyched about the Renekton, but we've talked about it a lot behind the scenes, Mark. I mean, it's just a champion who does so much pretty reliably and is almost always useful to some degree.
Yeah, it's like a B tier pick in almost every entire situation. Sometimes A, maybe never S. There's very rare times where it's like, this is such a sick Renekton angle, because everything is technically kind of a Renekton angle. Yeah. You can often find champions who do slot into that angle better than Renekton, but then those champions often have more necessities to play them correctly or get value out of them, or it's higher risk reward. And especially with the current itemization and meta, the Renekton is a very, very powerful pick. And you can see Rest going for the Aatrox again. That worked out well for him. I'm surprised to see this Sejuani takeaway, honestly. I thought the Maokai was fine. I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought their level 3 gank was just over-ambitious, and then they didn't do anything for 25 minutes as BDS stacked dragons and then fought from behind. So that was more like a decision-making problem to me than a comp problem, and I'm surprised to see them go away when the core of the comp was left up. They could have gone Jace again. I thought JimieN's Jace was pretty good. Yeah. It was just, again, the issue of now there's 3 frontline members with a mountain soul.
Once BDS are allowed to push waves in group as 5 and the tanky units can stand in front of the squishy backline, it just gets harder and harder to land meaningful poke. That was the reality of the situation. Perhaps why we're seeing the Kalista prioritize here over the Jace, wanting to see these compositions develop. With Kalista taken away, there are no prio 80 carries left. Right now, the prio 80 carries are essentially just Kalista and Xayah in the eyes of many. So that's why you're seeing Nuke pick up the Azir here, guaranteeing some control in the mid lane. And in general, this is a champion that has just very high guaranteed output later stages of the game, as long as he doesn't get picked off. So BDS, again, some safety, some stability in their draft. Nothing really crazy coming through here yet for either side, to be honest.
And Nuke honestly saved that game. When we talk about the opportunity for CFO to have won that, it was off Crownie kind of disrespecting the possibility of getting jumped on. He died with, basically flash ult up. And it was Nuke's heroics on this champion that saved that game, as well as bought them the 3rd inhibitor. He was doing a lot of work on this champion, so no surprise to see him go back to it for a second time.
Yeah, and I think that game was a lot of BDS team effort, so oftentimes to point out the greater successes of individual members, but Nuke a man worth highlighting in that regard. See what the focus is for the bottom side. Ezreal banned away. When you already see Aatrox, Sejuani on the opposite side, I'm not a big fan of worry. I don't care about Ezreal, to be honest. I think what we saw is a similar problem to what we saw with Jace, which is just when they're beefy frontliners to just eat Qs all day, what does Ezreal do compared to the power of a champion like Kaisa?
I was chuckling a little bit to myself about whether or not to make the joke of protecting Crownie from Ezreal himself, giving it over.
I mean, to be fair, Kaisa's supposed to be the Ezreal counter, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, it's an interesting thing. Like, that was one of the reasons that we saw Kaisa pop up again in like the LPL, was that she just jumps on top of Ezreal and Ezreal can never do anything.
In NA, we were even seeing Ezreal taken into Kaisa sometimes as well. It did not look fantastic. But I think it seems to be at least agreed upon being one of the... Whoa. We're seeing some Kalista. We saw one Kalista already. It did not look great necessarily. There was one where it was played well, where they were able to use the Faith Call to save an aggressive support multiple times. I think we've maybe seen 2 Kalistas thus far. But it is a high-risk, high-reward champion, and you are a lot more early-game oriented now on the side of BDS than they were in the previous game, where you're having what will hopefully be a winning bot lane and an aggressive top side as well.
And I gotta say, I'm an OEC caster. Obviously, I know BDS very well, but I am really loving what CFO are putting together right now, because this team fights. This team fights a lot. In fact, all of this team fights, and it's Kaisa who just gets to dance around on the outside. CFO's comp, very, very, very clear identity. On the opposite side for BDS, we have kind of this baton handover from Kalista early game scaling into Azir late game, which can be very powerful. But I like a composition that does one thing. And it's my favorite when that one thing is push all your buttons and try to kill people.
They looked at the previous game, they said we didn't fight enough, now everyone goes in. We do one thing, jump in now. I like the Alistar takeaway from the perspective of, hey, now you can't combo that with Kalista, one of the more annoying compositions where you have a flying cow hit you in the head, bump you up in the air twice in a row, turn invulnerable basically, or save him from situations. We are flexing the pools a little bit here out of BDS. I'm liking it.
What?
Into Sylas is a little questionable sometimes. Sylas has a lot of nice ults to steal here.
Sylas has a lot of great, and also builds AP, so Maokai ult actually going to hurt. Okay, whoa, this is great. So, I don't need to explain CFO's composition to you. If you've ever played against any of these champions, you understand what they do. They jump at you, and usually if they're ahead of you, they kill you. And if not, you can maybe outplay them and kill them. But the burden of execution feels oftentimes on the person being dove. Kalista Taric, that's out of left field for me. BDS fans, I think, should be sweating, because the track record here to prove that these guys are going to execute well in this lane does not exist this year.
Summer split, no games on Kalista or Taric. This is a composition that you do see. It does function, to be fair. You can pick up the Taric so that his ultimate is guaranteed to go off. It's one of the problems that you have with Taric sometimes is the timing of it, and maybe Taric gets exploded because you're doing it on reaction on getting jumped on. And the Kalista can basically guarantee, assuming the Kalista's not the one dying, that the Taric ultimate goes off. Plus, sometimes it's even honestly better to throw the Taric where the team is rather than where the enemy is to guarantee you get this ultimate off it. It can do some very cool synergistic things. You can also line up your stun if you throw in aggressively so that your E always lands from the knockup from the Fate's Call. There are really cool synergies, but they can be difficult to pull off.
Yeah. Last time we saw this was LEC summer 2020, 3 years ago. Production hopping my ear to give me the fun facts, as much as I'd love to take credit for them. Got a whole team here.
No, you did that. Happen. There's no one else. It's you and me. I'm producing this show. The 50+ people working on it suddenly like me less.
That's so crazy that your mic keeps cutting out and you keep saying weird things on broadcast. That's crazy that they're just going to air all that stuff you said off air.
The Baldur's Gate disapprove. Everyone disliked that.
Everyone disliked that. Shout out to the production team. And here we are, into what could be the final game of the series. A bold bet coming in from BDS, showing us something new. Slaying and reviving target.
So it's interesting. I think the Taric ultimate, when you're talking about what CFO's comp wants to do, makes a ton of sense. They're going to jump in. You're going to get an invulnerability, hopefully timed out well. You have this peel from the Maokai, peel from the Azir. There's a lot of things that can deal with CFO's composition if you're really on top of it.
Yeah. And if you can... you know, connect on some of those key abilities. And speaking of connecting, connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab the exclusive experimentation emote, which looks a little bit like the house is on fire.
It's not a good experiment.
It doesn't seem like the experiment is good. His glasses are cracked.
Oh, you're right. Look
which
at you
is
with the detail.
Maybe how we're going to feel about this game, depending on how this Kalista Taric goes.
Oh, they're walking in. Oh, they're walking
up. Level 1 Alistar, that's all of his value. It's been used up. Crownie flashing out to safety. That's such a fantastic start. Crownie running for his life. Double sums down. First blood. That is the worst possible thing that could happen to BDS. CFO. Beautiful level 1.
Oh, it's who gets the kill, too. The fact that it goes on to Shunn. You have Kalista, an early game-oriented champion. You want to get her ahead. You want to play through that lane. instantly set onto the back foot and comboing that forward onto the blue buff takeaway. Sheo's already reacted, going for a split map situation, but this is just going to make things even worse because this is going to isolate your lanes to the top side and the bot side. Aatrox is happy to soft lose the couple early levels into the Renekton early on, but generally speaking, if you're playing this matchup well, it is Aatrox favored, solo queue data-wise at least. So this is something where CFO, a dream start to this game.
Yeah. To be in level 2 coming through, and again, this lane, like mini Azir lanes, about if he can clear and get access to the wave. For now, the answer is no. Thorn Shield and some Vickies coming through for T-break in mid lane, and bottom side. I don't know what this lane does when it's behind.
It has no summoners available for Kalista.
I'm gonna be honest, I have never won lane against a Kalista in my entire life, so I don't know what this champion does when behind.
Nothing. You save other people.
Oh. That's not good.
No. You can, to be fair, get some levels. Maybe you're okay. You'll take a look at this. Love the aggressiveness out of ShiauC. Committing to the flash, the 4-man, everyone coming in at the same time. JimieN laying the follow-up chains. Getting it stacked up enough, forcing the cleanse out, the ignite. Just such a good chase down. And the fact that somehow Shunn, with everyone else stacked on top, is able to pick up that kill is huge.
It's massive. And it's already representing the philosophy we wanted to see more from CFO, which is just go in.
They have managed to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where level 1 Alistar, obviously, if you instantly one-shot someone, he's a great level 1 champion. You flash, you pull, and that your job is done. If you extend the level 1, he sucks. That's his entire contribution done. So the fact that everyone immediately follows up, zero hesitation, getting the damage down, finding that kill, donating to the perfect person, this is a swimming start for CFO. You can already see almost 1,000 gold in their favor. It doesn't mean a lot because it hasn't been spent yet, and that's something important to keep track of here. This is a potential window of opportunity for Labrov and Crownie to get something done, but of course, who is here to cover? None other than Gemini. Stun sidestepped pretty cleanly. Labrov now going to be in trouble, forced to flash out to safety, and the amount of summoner spells in bot lane is getting lower and lower. The lonely ignite from Labrov, the last one left available.
I was worried about the Hex Flash Headbutt Pulve combo onto Crownie, but was able to stay out of range, so instead they're just getting the flash out of Labrov instead of a follow-up kill, which is a small but important win for BDS in that situation there. But CFO continue to have pressure in the bot lane, and you know, you can still bully maybe after first recall is Adam. Whoa. You can maybe still bully off reset if, you know, Shunn doesn't have a massive item advantage, but you've already wasted a lot of the early potential where you're ideally harassing from level 1, stacking waves, making plays happen repeatedly on the bot side. So we're about to see a 3v3 maybe. Warded out.
Sheo, it's already been warded. Stun connecting on the Alistar. Shunn does a bit of chip damage down. Gemini very powerful. Level advantage. Passive still up and available with both sides. Kind of just posturing.
Yeah. They're trying to get this wave in so you can get the reset. JimieN, though, on the far wraparound. He can maybe get into that brush unseen or
just
flash.
the wall.
That's very aggressive.
They're waiting for the setup. Ward's pinged out. Did they spot him going into the jungle?
I think they might have known he's not in mid lane, at least, since Nuke has gotten enough of a shove here. They might have seen him on the roam. No, that ward was just placed. That would have been after the roam had occurred. So they knew that he was out of there, knew that this side of the map was overloaded, and they're still doing their best to get this wave in. And on the flip side for CFO, they're able to get resets off during this time. Gemini has already gotten that first back, grabbed his first item, and it's taking more of Sheo's time to make sure this wave actually can get in. And it's still taking a lot of work, and now Gemini is once again showing up in bot lane.
Yeah. And production coming in hot. Let us know they did spot the Sylas, so they had perfect information in that context, or at least partially perfect information. They knew that he was in the jungle, so good ward placement, good diligence from BDS to respect the potential play there. Level 6 coming through for Nuke. Gemini there to Shadow, potentially just to make sure that JimieN can get his level 6, or at least clear the wave and force it in. And after that initial explosive moment, the game has been relatively quiet. That said, while Sejuani is getting camps and shadowing her lanes, Sheo has just been shadowing the lanes, has not gotten many camps whatsoever.
No, and also that gold difference in the bot side has not gotten any better. The CS advantage going heavily in Shunn's favor this time around. He was, as the analyst was highlighting in the pre-show, one of the best performing members, if not the best performing AD carry currently in play-ins, and this is exactly the guy you want with the gold in your pocket, as well as the fact BDS's comp does have tools to deal with CFOs, but it's not like you have a scaling advantage. There's no benefit from falling behind and surviving until mid to late game. Kalista will, of course, start to drop off. Generally speaking, Aatrox will outperform a Renekton in the mid to late game, and we saw Rest had a very good performance, honestly, on that Aatrox. So BDS will need to find some ways to make some things happen, I think, to make sure this game doesn't just kind of stall out with a 1 to 2K advantage that slowly grows for CFO.
Certainly, and I think if something's going to be the exception to that rule, it will be the Azir coming in from Nuke, which is a lot of pressure to put on an individual player, but Nuke is a guy who, while he's not always the center of the show, we saw him last game on this Azir, he did make his presence known. He kind of saved the game for BDS because of that hiccup in the mid lane, that big mistake. And has had a couple games, at least in the LEC, one on Jace, a couple on Cassio, where he's really popped off, really almost single-handedly carried those games. Maybe he can look to replicate that here. For now, there's a stolen Maokai ultimate in the hands of Sylas.
Yeah, they heard that dragon go down, and I think Sheo was worried about a potential bot dive follow-up, so he has to cross-map through mid lane, through vision, making sure that they can actually contest some of these jungle camps.
Rob landing the stun. Sheo in the area.
Yeah, able to force him out of the jungle there, get the second blue buff spawn for Sheo, and see if he hands it over to Nuke, because like you said, it does feel like a lot of the eggs are in the Nuke basket at this point in time. Adam quietly has done a good job getting a CS lead for himself. Renekton does quite well in the early phases sometimes. Yeah.
This is where it gets a little bit tricky, though. Rest is currently an item advantage, but Adam making good use of the Fury, trying to backstep, but does get hit by not the sweet spot on the Q2. Did look like he got hit by it, but didn't get knocked up.
Yeah, able to trade ultimates there, but at the end of the day, perfectly happy for both of them to just keep farming up. And Adam has kind of been on what you would call somewhat the strong side in the early levels as he, whoop,
forced flash away. As the Q3 came through, and Rest certainly could have flash chased if that did connect on its own. Red, blow a ball.
Oh, okay.
Hits the Q2, he's gonna hit the Q3. Oh, that's it! For those who don't know, if you hit Q2, or Q2, once they're already chained, you guarantee the Q3.
Rest landing the skills, missed the Q1, but still had enough damage to make it happen. Finds the solo bolo. We were trying to hype up Adam a little bit as maybe being a strong side of the map. Immediate cast your curse into a 2-0 lead for CFO.
Yeah. Just like it's all on Mark Z for producing the show, it's also all his fault as Crownie now trying to make it out to safety, throwing his support back into the mix, running for his life. The ulti going wide, but he's slowed. Just barely able to escape Labrov. They do make it out. CFO burns so many resources, but BDS walk away with their lives, burning everything in return.
That is a highway robbery to get out of there. Crownie living somehow is now Gemini, maybe a little bit too far forward.
Gemini, Q back, spear over the wall. Crownie going in for the kill. This is madness. ShiauC coming in too. Crownie not quite able to finish the job. Ignite now taking down. Labrov held that one for so damn long. They need to take out ShiauC, but the ult coming in just in time. The stun connecting. Nuke going for the pushback. JimieN on the backside. Nuke knows he can only go forward, flashing out to safety. It's pretty damn clean. Shunn out of mana. Ulti coming in, just a bit of poke. No further committal from BDS, a bloody mess of an exchange.
Taking what should have been a free kill onto Crownie and turning that into a 2-for-1 for BDS. What I thought was already a robbery is even more now that they could somehow come out net positive in that play as we initially see this solo kill.
And I gotta say,
the second E forward was an interesting choice.
Was bold. Okay, but this is the thing that I love from Rest. Absolute confidence here. To go for that. Because if you whiff the Infernal Chains, you look like an idiot.
He was close. Q went right wide. Here's this play, though, where they immediately get on top of him. This looks fantastic. The flash out. This, though, the interrupt by Labrov jumping in the way. Shunn has to flash in front of Labrov to try and land the W afterwards. Gemini also misses ultimate. And then there's nothing left. They're able to skate out. And because Nuke has pressure on the mid lane, when Gemini starts trying to move up to the river to contest that Scuttle Crab, it looked like the rest of the team can hop over the wall, find this kill. I like the decision to go in there by Gemini and just finish Crownie off and try and keep skirmishing, but man.
But it's also such a close fight. ShiauC hits level 6 because Crownie dies. That could have been so much worse for CFO.
Yeah, same with Sheo grabbing his ult, I think, at the tail end of that fight as well, then being able to send that over to protect the rest of the team. They got a lot of flashes out, too. Shunn burned his flash earlier. JimieN burned his flash trying to get on top of Nuke, who was able to flash out safely. There's basically no flashes in the game after that.
Rest going in. Already burned the Umbral dash, so Adam's just going to be forced back. Lane does not get easier for Renekton.
Nope, does not. He did hold on to his ultimate there while Rest burned his, so should be relatively safe unless Gemini can land a nice CC combo here, but there's enough vision from BDS on this side of the map to not be surprised of anything coming in, and you have Sheo now hovering as a result.
Yeah, Aatrox still a champion who needs a couple Qs to connect to kill you too. It's not, he doesn't one-shot you. It's not a blink of an eye that you disappear. You're gonna have a lot of time, again, short of that CC combo to pop your ult, to try to dash to safety. Crownie on the bottom side, getting closer to what I assume will be an early Blade of the Rune King, as is pretty standard for Kalista, especially with a lot of beefy frontliners on the opposite side, but he is trailing behind Kaisa pretty dramatically. Taric obviously giving you a decent amount of armor, so I think that's probably why we're seeing Shunn not go towards the lethality build. Maybe in some contexts would make sense when you have a lead like this, but you know, a lot of beefy frontliners on the opposite side as well.
Yeah, a little surprised actually now that you pointed out to not see him going that way with the dive focus of the entire composition. You think just instantly blow somebody up, most likely nuke if you can get on top of him and try and fight from there. And the enemy team does have a lot of beefcakes, but at the same time, you're probably not going to stack too much armor on a Renekton, and the Maokai is a low econ jungler. You know, you're not able to get quite as many armor stacking. And either way, though, it's still going to be able to pump out a lot of damage, I suppose. And this is one of those awkward games again where CFO is in what feels like a commanding lead, but they have not been able to convert much of that since the very nice opening and the solo kill. The gold lead has largely stayed the same, hovering around 1,000. They did pick up one dragon, but they have not blown open the bot side. But again, they don't really need to from our expectations of how these comps are going to interact.
Yeah. Rest just walking menacingly at Adam. Umbral dash into the Q2. Q3 won't connect. Adam walks away slowly.
Drake stacking commences on the bot side of the map. Still far behind, still 20 CS deficit, still jungle advantage as well to Gemini, and CS grabbing the second one also has the mythic advantage across the board, so there's no way BDS would ever want to take that fight. Looking more like a third or fourth dragon that they will have to contest at this point.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, Mark. You know, I'm not really sure what BDS can do here, because Crownie, while against a lot of these more bruisery-style champions, Kalista's notorious for just being able to survive forever in a fight. The Alistar really limits that, especially a phase rush Alistar who can just QW in, ulti, hit you once, zoom in and out, stay on top of you, make sure that you connect with that stun. It's going to be tricky to navigate. A lot of pressure on Labrov now to find that great Taric ultimate, as there's a bit of a contest here around the blue buff. Smite will go over to Gemini.
Yep, a little early, it looked like from Sheo there, maybe. And like you said, there are tools for BDS comp where if they go in, you get the Taric ultimate off because it wasn't super clean. Kalista builds a bunch of stacks up because she's invulnerable and hopefully three hitting during that time. Nuke shuffles people away, you rip them out. Of course, and it's still, again, now only a 2,000 gold advantage, but the problem is it's going to keep creeping up because you honestly can't fight until you have your items, and they are behind CFO and getting there, and the lead just grows and grows and grows. And by the time you have your items to fight, suddenly it's 3 dragons and a 4K gold advantage if CFO continues to snowball.
Yeah. JimieN walking forward, isolating. Sheo now needs to make it out safety, but again, the layering of the CC here, flawless from CFO to find that pick. Take a look at the match card lane economy snapshot. Lane's looking good for CFO is the story here, and that snapshot didn't take into account that kill, so I imagine even mid lane now in the favor of CFO.
That would be a 300 gold swing. Unfortunately, he did not pick it up, so getting the assist instead. Nice aggressiveness. I like seeing JimieN just flash in there, even though Sheo had flash, and I assume they had that timer. There's so much CC follow-up that as long as you lock him down to start that off with. I think he got that. Did he get it? I couldn't tell. I didn't see a Trito go over, but maybe he didn't have any treats. It's usually the easiest way to tell.
Yeah.
Just like, did he heal for a bunch?
Adam, World Ender coming through. If he can get out without burning his zone ability, pullback, doesn't connect. So, an ultimate advantage here. Doesn't need to reset. Hopefully he can pick up the Gore Drinker, or this lane is going to be very difficult.
It's one of those, it feels like it's what the top lane is going to be now, is Rest generally getting good trades and chasing him down, and Adam trying to survive. And at some point, hopefully in team fights, killing Shunn or something. Because otherwise, yeah, the side lane will largely be in Rest's favor. That's what we're talking about, where the matchup, assuming you're playing it correctly and you're able to land some of your W Infernal Chains and your Darkened Blades, there's not much Renekton can do.
Yeah, it's an interesting balancing act. Actually, I love Aatrox as a champion just from watching people lane as and against him. There's this like beautiful dance of spacing where like you want to be on top for Q2 and Q3, or sorry, Q1 and Q2, and then you want to be as far away from him from Q3, and like watching that back and forth is always pretty fun. That said, not as fun when the Aatrox is sitting pretty on a Gore Drinker, while Renekton only has bits and pieces.
Yeah, and your entire rest of your map is falling behind.
Yeah.
I'm playing Renekton. What am I doing here?
Sure. And this is one of those moments we talked about. Renekton does everything pretty solid, but you know, he just doesn't. There's not a niche. We're not waiting for a sudden window of opportunity where Adam is suddenly the strongest champion.
Yeah, don't
in the
worry.
game.
Once third item comes online, he's gonna do this, and that.
Great. Like he's always going to be a threat.
Whoa.
Crownie locked up. Chain CC again coming through, forcing out the cleanse. Crownie now just going to keep walking forward, knowing that he's not under a lot of threat. ShiauC still coming, though. He has to be careful. Adam going in. He might just be able to one-shot, gets him down before he can use the dominant. ShiauC now needs to run. Zooming out to safety. Crownie desperate for more, but nice bit of a play there. It does mean Rest is going to get a lot of time unattended on the top side. There are no plates left, but could just look to burn down that tower.
Still like the aggressive teleport out of Adam. Quick reaction time to that so they can save Crownie and also get that punish kill onto JimieN, who threw those chains out, started running away, ended up really close to the Kalista. And with that time, though, they do get a kill on the, turret on the top side, and they'll grab the Rift Herald as well. It is at least getting some gold back into BDS, because otherwise, how else will you be able to trade turrets if you're just losing in most of your lanes or down pressure at the very least?
Ooh. Drags JimieN now. Ooh, not quite going to connect there. Would have been able to take the 1v1 you assume with the Dominus advantage.
Did save the turret with that teleport, so while I'm sure BDS will grab that shortly, it is sometimes a little frustrating. You just need that like 100 gold.
Well, and like you look at the objectives coming up, it's 33 seconds to the Dragon. If that staggers a recall timer, if that frees up CFO to push in this mid lane, then it's absolutely worth the expenditure. ShiauC is oh, nuke. Isolated. Why would you dash back? Trying to bait him in. Rest now just going to blast cone out to safety. The stun not quite going to catch him in midair. That was almost very suspect, but everyone manages to make it out safe. Ultimately, Rest forced to flash.
Having some happy game a little bit right now with ShiauC going over the wall before the Rift Herald was in range, taking a ton of damage, and then Rest having a really nice trade onto Nuke. And then Nuke kind of, like you said, baiting him in, and the rest of the team able to collapse, getting the flash out of Rest, limiting his playmaking as we head towards this third Dragon, and BDS getting the inside track on it because, again, ShiauC had to go back to base and heal up.
Excellent window of opportunity to try to capitalize on here. Crownie opting for the Blade, the Rune King opting for the Rage Blade as well, so more spears going to be in that Dragon, that much easier to secure it. There should be no way for CFO to win the 50-50 with Crownie having that many spears and eyes on the prize. They immediately going to ult. Now the follow-up just has to stop in its tracks. ShiauC's there, but there's no effective damage output. Solid fight for BDS thus far. Do they want to commit or back away with what they got? Crownie just continuing to step forward, knowing he's under no threat. ShiauC over-committing into the Taric, and now Adam instantly looking to follow up. BDS finding the angle, too, into the back pocket of Crownie.
Despite the horrendous start that they were forced on from that level 1, and then the Gemini in back pocket of bot lane almost the entire game. Crownie is finding ways to contribute. Labrov, the nice ultimate, pulling off the combination that we were saying was how you can win these fights. Getting the Taric ultimate off. ShiauC going in right then and being able to just stack up spears in him. Once the Alistar ult drops off, you blow him up. And saving grace for CFO in this situation was they did continue their Dragon stacking. I like the setup here out of CFO, kind of threatening from multiple angles. They get this away. That's great because Sheo was, kind of more worried about dying than getting the smite right there. But then once the Taric ultimate drops, ShiauC going in just gives them a target to focus down, and the rest of CFO was split and looking like they were happy to just back off from there. And then Rest stuck around just slightly too long. He ends up dropping as well with the rest of BDS hopping the wall and maybe beginning to find their angle into this game.
Yeah. And I think for CFO, we're noticing a concerning trend of these like spectator objectives where they show up and they're kind of just hoping that BDS fumble the bag and that they can jump in and steal something away. ShiauC overcommitting. Saw it in game 1 as well, and I think it's either go and contest and fight or don't, but this spending so much time just to lose members in the exchange and power that Taric ultimate, very apparent in the previous fight. With no immediate follow-up, with no immediate burst damage coming through, it's so easy to just wait out that channel time and leverage it to its fullest.
Yeah, really nice stuff out of BDS. Still 2,500 gold behind. Still, the Dragon went over to CFO, so there's huge pressure on this next one to make sure that they don't get it. But at the end of the day, they did get some more gold into their back pocket.
Yeah, and completely wrong there, because I missed the steal, so thank you for calling it out, Mark, because that shouldn't happen against a Kalista, and CFO do make it happen. So actually, the grand scheme of things, probably worth that much closer to Ocean Soul. Incredibly impactful against a lot of these champions. Certainly against the poke of a demonic Maokai.
They're able to stay healthy if they are walking into saplings. Always feels nice to kind of negate one of the strongest parts of Maokai's kit. Still will have vision control. We'll still have to walk into them, but even with demonic red smite, will not be quite as much damage as you're absorbing through the healing of the ocean. Now we see Nuke in a bit of trouble. Gets the turret up, at least, to protect his back off there.
They remember from game 1. You don't fight the Emperor and his little mini kingdom here on the bottom side. As brief as it will be.
Setting up, clearing out some vision. My question is from here, how does CFO win this game? Because we saw them in the losing position in the previous game, able to with their backs against the wall, find that aggressive angle. Now, in the driver's seat of the game, how do they want to pilot it? That last objective I will chalk up to a series of unfortunate events. They lemony snicketed their way into that where ShiauC gets chunked out by flashing the wall too early, then Rest loses his flash, and then they're late to the dragon, and then they're trying to contest it.
Because they get the steal, though, it's kind of like even though it's questionable, ultimately it's like, all's well that ends well, which isn't a great way to look at League of Legends from a competitive standpoint, but sometimes you take the dubs you can get.
Yeah, but projecting forward, if you keep doing that,
that's
eventually you probably should not win that game.
Talking about. If we keep doing it, we get Ocean Soul in the next one.
Fair enough.
You know?
That is
keep flipping it. If you keep winning the flip, there's nothing wrong with flipping, right? That's gambling in a nutshell.
I'm not gonna do the copy pasta.
You're not gonna do the gambler's fallacy thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just one more away. No, here I will say you can see that Goldie kind of plateauing, unfortunately, for CFO. You want to have a little bit more control, and those kills did matter. It did get Crownie to a spot where he feels pretty relevant, even items at least, with Shunn here. And so while Kalista will outgo the Kalista, at least at this portion of the game, you are very, very relevant if you're able to stack up spears. And I like BDS kind of putting their foot on the gas here and saying, we don't want to just keep even farming and go into the next dragon.
Yeah. BDS. CFO have the gold lead, but it's BDS dictating the pace of the game right now. CFO forced to play it to their tune. Now looking to test. 6K getting lower. Again, it should be impossible to steal his objective. Stun locking up. JimieN forcing out the early stopwatch, looking to burn him down. He's now pushing back. He's now trying to make it out to safety. Taric now coming down. Can they take the objective? Again, there should be no way it's getting stolen. It's sloppy on the finish, but it does not matter as they look to find the fight. Shunn on the backside, not able to finish off. Nuke, still standing. Hits with a Fnatic logo. Gemini flashes in with the smite to finish the job. But at the end of the day, BDS get the Baron, and Adam might have struggled against the Aatrox, but he is absolutely smashing this Kaisa. Taking his time, Shunn running for his life, but it does matter? Does it matter? Oh my God! He gets lost in the sauce. The disrespect more important than just finishing the job.
Pushing the recall buttons, trying to flex on him a little bit, ends up going down, but still, BDS absolutely love that call. Use your kits to the maximum, stack those spears up, force them into you. I think the decision to split the fight as well, to force JimieN off to the left side of the fight so you're not just all corralled in the pit, was absolutely massive here. And the focus by Crownie, making sure that he gets all the spears in here. JimieN just slightly ahead of the play, Nuke and Adam comboing together to kill him, while Rest is the only one in the fight. And because Labrov can get this ultimate off, you pull him on top of you, guaranteed get that, and then they can finish the objective off, refocus down to the front line. Shunn goes flying in, but it's too little too late now, and BDS might have just punched their tickets potentially to the advancement match tomorrow against the PCS #1 seed if they can make the most of this Baron buff.
And that's the thing, talking about the backbreaker plays today. This wasn't it, this was just kind of funny. He's just taking the time. I mean,
Kaisa's a fun champion, and you probably, whoops. I don't know.
Fine.
Whatever. I mean, they stopped the dragon stacking.
Yeah.
They get their Baron. They have the control now. You know, this is a huge win for BDS here, and at least showing that they are doing a very good job of understanding their composition. When they lock this in, we're highlighting the fact that we haven't really seen this out of BDS, this exact combination of champions, and there's always concern with this kind of thing if you're able to actually execute on it. And despite the horrendous start, BDS is showing they know how to do this.
And you look at the teamfight damage, you can see that Crownie is making his mark on this pick. I think excellent recognition of a lot of these short-range champions on the opposite side. Kalista champion who's great in these extended fights when she can dance around a lot of these more melee champions. And while it's something we haven't seen from Crownie this year, still making it work, making it count, because it made sense in the draft. And I imagine they've been preparing it, paired with the Taric ultimate. It's looking like BDS, seemingly out of nowhere, have taken total control of this game.
Yeah, it was heavily favored for the vast majority of the game, basically since level 1 towards CFO, but that Baron flip coming up huge for him.
And again, in a perfect world, not a flip. They did leave it at 1,000 health. They did not count 1, 2, 3 on the smites. It got a little hectic here. Focus now on Labrov. They've stolen away a Maokai ultimate. Maokai ultimate traded. Kitty cats going back and forth on both sides. Taric ultimate now coming in. ShiauC is once again overcommitted to the Taric ultimate. Will not get stunned at this time around, trying to pop back, but Adam immediately just stepping forward to the backline. So much damage coming out from the Call of the Meek. ShiauC dead as well. CFO trying to dig themselves out of the hole and only end up digging deeper in the favor of BDS. JimieN's forced to retreat, and BDS barreling down the top side.
Baron has timed out, but it's still a 5v3. We want to see how aggressive BDS wants to be here. Is it inhibitor back, or are you going to try and push forward? 30 seconds on Rest, 15 on ShiauC. They're considering it.
I think you got to go for the throw here. Crownie locked up for a moment, but they just don't have the follow-up damage. Too much wave clear from the side of CFO. They opt to just get out rather than risk diving the Nexus towers.
I gotta tell you, Labrov's Taric has been impressing me here yet again. When you're playing against Taric, what you want to do is threaten enough of an engage that he has to pop his ultimate. You back off from that position, and then you re-engage. But Labrov is just so confident that he doesn't need to ult quite yet. And he holds it, he holds it, he holds it until the next Maokai ultimate comes in the second engage, and that's when he pops his ultimate, and that's when the turn comes through. Absolutely love the restraint on the Taric play there. And then Adam shows up, then they can chase forward and win this fight.
Yeah. I gotta say, I was skeptical about the Kalista Taric, even more so after that first blood kill, but credit to BDS. Making this combination for both champions, you know, kind of utilizing it to the fullest, making it look good.
And really heads up drafting and throws an extra wrinkle into what I think a lot of people expected out of BDS, where it's mostly kite back compositions, scaling, and it's just, is Adam going to do something weird? Here you see that the rest of the team can have unique pocket picks, these things that will answer compositions. When CFO goes full dive, full send, full commit to blowing up targets, and you flex in the Kalista and the Taric, and you're able to counter the enemy composition, it makes you have to pay way more attention in the draft into what you're actually playing into.
Certainly. And I think you're in this awkward point now where you have a lot of these champions who are bruisers who just don't have the burst damage. As we see there, the instant engage comes out, but it's a slow team fight. BDS taking their time, flash back from Crownie. Fate's Call coming out, thrown in the midst of the team. The shield coming in again. There's no angle here for CFO. They're booming in to just get slaughtered. Crownie again, still standing. But they don't have the money. They don't have the comp. They have nothing left. That fight was not good, and BDS punished them for trying to take it.
A 5-for-0 clean ace out of BDS. They destroy CFO. The minions are showing up now to help them end this game. That should be it.
BDS barrel down the mid lane. They were in control in game one. They lost it a bit here in game two, just as they did in game one. But at the end of the day, when it comes time to show up, BDS show up. They will move on to the best of 5. They will move on to the enemy fountain for some reason. They will take their time, but they will take the win as well. BDS one best of 5 away from securing the Swiss stage.
The importance of the losers bracket coming up big today. Both GAM and BDS drop down on day one, making some mistakes, some uncharacteristic play out of them, and recovering in the losers bracket, looking way better, even today than yesterday for BDS. A level of aggression that we weren't seeing out of them, not just scaling into it, but looking for their moments, looking for their opportunities, and pulling the trigger when they see them.
Yeah. And that game right there, way more confidence inspiring for BDS fans in game one.
Yeah.
Game one, slow, steady. Again, 1 or 2 fumbles almost cost you the game, but didn't because you were in control and you had a big enough lead that it wasn't the end of the world. That game, starting behind, bringing it back. Top lane not massively ahead. In fact, starting to get further and further behind when it comes to Adam, even if he was finding these good little gold advantages, but showing up way better in the team fights. BDS executing as a team way better.
I think it's like one of these weird ways to gain confidence, to be losing the game and recover it, because the way that you were losing the game was a little hard to predict. BDS does do aggressive level 1s, and they kind of got called out by the Alistar here, and they fell behind because of it. But they did not crumble. They did not fall apart despite how much pressure was put onto that bot side of the map. They didn't end up actually dropping again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They recovered extremely well, and going forward now, looking towards tomorrow against PSG, who is generally considered a stronger opponent than CFO, they will have to continue to play this well. And it gives, I think, European fans a lot of confidence. The LEC should breathe a huge sigh of relief now.
Yeah.
After
the loss and after a surprisingly contentious early game against DFM, I was sweating. But BDS at the end of the day, they stay alive here at Worlds 2023, and they are going to face PSG tomorrow for a spot in Swiss. To recap the day, let's send it over to the Analyst for Worlds Cooldown.
I have no words. I have no way to understand BDS, and I genuinely do not know what to expect from this team. Coming to game one, my expectations were low. The first 20 minutes, they blow me out the water. The next 20 minutes, they make me depressed. I come into game two, Crownie gives up first blood on an invade. I'm convinced we're going to game three, and then they have one of the best, cleanest comebacks I've seen in a while. This team is a little all over the place, but they have picked up the wins. They're one BO5 away from making it to Swiss.
True, Trevor. If you can't handle them at their worst, you don't deserve them at their best. At the end of the day, they showed it from both sides. Game one, great early game, pretty tragic late game. Game two, pretty tragic early game, but they come back later on. So congratulations to BDS for this one. Great play.
No, absolutely. You know, when the when the early game started to crumble a bit, and I saw that there was a Kalista, you know, Adam got solo killed on the Renekton.
Yeah.
You got a little bit worried, didn't you? Like, just a little tiny bit.
I got very worried.
Yeah, I mean, no, let's not overplay it. We were just a little bit worried. But then going into the mid-game around the objectives, I mean, wow, great team fighting coming through, especially with the usage of the Taric ultimate. It just seemed like CFO did not know how to play into that whatsoever. And also, a lot of credit to the members that's not Adam for once, from stepping up for BDS. I think all of them really delivered in this game. And despite Adam's little, do we call it a mishap with his disrespect in the top lane, the personality display?
I think the personality display, I actually don't think you can even criticize it because of the fact that they won so quickly after. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's about sending a message.
Sure.
It's about mentality.
True.
All right, I think it's definitely debatable.
Had the game gone 5 more minutes and that additional like bounty gold had mattered, sure.
Then
but
you're giving him the death
right?
stare. Yeah.
But I mean, they knew they were finishing it, so yeah, I'm going to allow it. Also, coming from the traitor that called it 2-1 in favor of Flying Oyster at the beginning of the day, if I recall correctly.
You thought we had missed that, huh?
Very rich, Mr. Goldberg. Vedius out there is seething. Vedius out there, who is channeling his euphoria fully, is going to throw you under the bus for bailing on BDS. Look at these plays. Look at this objective.
And where was your confidence in the prediction, too? I said 2-0 BDS. You're like, 2-1 CFO.
No, I just said he was quick. I got a producer in here telling me we need to throw. Trevor is throwing to the next castle with the game coming in. I have to go quick. Also, I'm getting shamed by you guys. Mega Blade came through, looked at me, and just said, "You disrespect my boys." This is what happens. She called me Vedius because Vedius is usually the one with these predictions. So yeah, I got my fair share of it. You know, Adam, he tried to help me out. Did not work.
One of our producers that does a lot of the international events, he actually said that if BDS wins, he deserves a raise. So Sam, that's a shout out to you there for having a bit of a joke. Regardless of that, let's zoom out. Let's take a brief second and to recognize that for Flying Oysters, they have now been eliminated.
Yes.
Flying Oysters came in, they made a statement, they were a strong opponent, and I think there were multiple times, especially in Game 1, where they really could have punished BDS, forced us deeper into the series. Ultimately, though, BDS did step up to the plate today, pick up the win, and advance to face PSG in the next round.
Yeah, and CFO gave us some of the most exciting games and series of the tournaments. They were bloodthirsty. Specifically, shout out to JimieN. He had both. In his loss in the Azir game, I thought he was amazing. His Jace has been exceptional, so I'm actually looking forward to just seeing him go back domestically and also come back to an international, the next MSI. So even though it's an ending for him and his team, still a proper showing for the second seed for the PCS.
And Goldberg, when we take a look at the bracket, Team Wales versus GAM. The VCS number 1 and number 2 seed, they are flipped this time around versus what they came in from. Team Wales will be the highest seed, PSG versus BDS, or PCS and LEC. Only 2 of those teams will advance to Swiss.
Yeah, honestly, I'm so excited for tomorrow. No, of course for PSG versus BDS, but maybe even more so actually for Team Wales versus GAM. It's a rematch of the finals we had at VCS, but this is also the first time where Team Wales actually get to participate in a finals with the full roster. Yeah. I saw a lot of fans say, wait, how this team, the second seed coming into it? One, Wales evolved a lot going into play-ins. Like, they are so much better than they were when they played in the playoffs of VCS. But also, B was hospitalized when they were playing the finals, so he could not participate. This time around, they get to have the rematch where you have a full roster for Team Wales.
Well, we'll find out what happens. I just heard the interview is ready. Law is standing by with Adam in Korea.
Welcome back to Seoul for the Verizon post-game interview here with Adam from BDS. Congratulations on making it to best of 5. It was not an easy road for you guys, but you guys made it. Talk me through this series. Chaotic first game, second one a bit more clean. But how do you guys always do it like this? Nothing's easy with you guys so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I knew that we would kind of win today because after the loss against Team Wales, we had a lot of discussions about what would work the best for us. And starting from yesterday, I think we've shown pretty clean performances, apart from today's game 1, which is, I would say, I mean, BDS is not, we always have this tendency to go a bit slow, sometimes. But once we're in. So.
Can you tell me a bit more about the way you reflected on the games yesterday? You were saying that you know which way you should take. Can you tell me more about this and the learnings from this one?
Yeah, for example, if you take a look after the loss against Team Wales, I was really, really frustrated, really angry towards myself and also towards my teammates, right? Because, of course, when you're at a world stage, you should not be happy, right? And you should also take accountable, your teammates if they do something bad. So this is why, we after this we had kind of a big discussion, and then we worked all together to really see like what actually is the best for us.
Okay.
And in game, I think now everything's good. To be fair, so I'm really glad.
Found your groove. Happy to hear that. You were mentioning how important it is, especially on the world stage. This is not your first Worlds participation. I know the last one was a bit complicated for multiple reasons, but what is your resolution this time around? What do you want to prove personally, and what do you want to achieve? And also, what kind of mindset are you in compared to last time?
I mean, when I was in Fnatic, it was my first World. So, I mean, overall, I was a rookie back then, and I said it multiple times, but I didn't feel like, I was a member of Fnatic, but it was hard for me like to really feel integrated, in the team, because there was quite a lot of big names, right? So it's hard. It was hard for me like to find myself, like to raise my voice, etc. But right now it's a bit different because apart from Crownie, I don't think there's big names because only Crownie is there for a while. But I can voice myself, right? And it feels so much different. And also when I proved to myself that it was not a luck when I was in Fnatic that I qualified towards, because now I'm here with BDS, and I think I deserve to be here.
No disrespect for your teammates, of course, but it feels like you're the main character for BDS here. When you think of the fans, the overwhelming support that they brought you, the gods memes and everything. 3 champions down, by the way. 1 more to go. But did you think the fans would react this way?
I mean, of course not, right? Because I kind of knew that I had kind of a growing fan base from Korea, because there's this YouTuber that does a lot of videos from me, and he was already doing it from winter, so I kind of had this fan base growing more and more. But the day I got to Korea, and after we just beat GG's, it was just super amazing, right? Kind of unbelievable. I could not expect that, so I'm really glad, to live that.
Former world champion Wolf actually praising Adam. For those who don't know the story, we'll touch on that a bit later in another interview. But let's focus on the match you're going to have tomorrow. I think it may be one of the hardest matchups you could have expected for PSG Talon. The next step. What is your resolution for this game? What can we expect from you guys?
I mean, I believe PSG and us were like the best teams out of all the planes, so it's going to be a tough matchup for us. And I do believe we should be a bit stronger than them. But of course, it's not going to be easy. So I would say if we kind of come up with the same mentality as we did today, with like confidence, and we know that we'll smash them, I think we should be winning in the end. But of course, we should not be underestimating. For example, when like on game 2, when I suicide on the Kaisa after the Nash.
Let's not do that.
It happens. We can forget that, right? It never happened.
Never happened.
So yeah, thanks.
All right. Good mindset for tomorrow. Adam, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Good luck tomorrow, of course. And back to you guys in Dublin.
Thank you so much. Lord, that was a fantastic interview. Fantastic call out for Wolf as well. And I think I always love hearing from Adam. He's reflective. I think he's honest. I think he's quietly confident as well, but, in a grounded sense. I mean, what's your biggest takeaway from that interview and from what he just said over the last few minutes?
Well, first of all I think the biggest one for me was how was their reflections after their games against Team Wales, because I think that's where we care the most as an EU fan base in terms of the team that showed up that day and the improvements they're going to be making. And I kind of get why he was frustrated as well. It did feel like he was playing a lot of the game and the teammates were sitting back a bit, but I also will say that ever since those conversations started, against TFM, that felt like a good practice run. Now against today's CFO today, that feels like a testament to the fact that the rest of BDS is back.
I really like that.
For two things that I got out of that one that I really enjoyed is this time feeling fully integrated, being able to comfortably speak his mind, and the other one, keeping his teammates and himself accountable. Those 2 things can go really far off. You can go a long way.
Keeping teammates accountable.
Yeah.
Hang on now. Separate.
Okay.
What was your prediction for this series?
2-0 BDS.
What was your prediction for the series? And look at this camera, right? Tell the camera who you predicted to win. No, come on. Own
this
up.
Camera right here.
Own up. Adam taught me to keep your teammates accountable, right?
Right.
And you sold them out.
I did.
You undervalued
No,
Adam
I
and
did
BDS.
just straight up
That's
not believe it. No, I did not undervalue Adam.
LEC and Mia fans, remember who the Judas was. Let's move on, okay, because I'm holding you accountable for this. And let's zoom out We've got one other series to talk about before we round out the day. Let's talk a little bit about GAM.
It's called the
versus
positive jinx.
Sure. Whatever you want to spin to cover that up. Raz, because I just attacked Gulborg.
Yeah.
Let's talk about GAM and Loud. Quickly recap that series for me. And let's also remember we're saying goodbye to Loud.
You got any spots on the LCS?
I think you've just seen our games at the beginning.
Oh yeah, but you haven't lost at Worlds yet.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Look, understood. Look, we could talk after this.
Yes, let's
I'll
say,
give you my details.
let's pay our respects to both GAM and Loud just before. Well, okay, I wasn't going to go quite that far.
Okay.
Let's quickly summarize the series. What do you remember from earlier in the day? And for me, frankly, Loud, especially in Game 2, underperformed. I expected more. I wanted a more competitive series.
Yes.
I saw individual mistakes that were capitalized and punished. And it's heartbreaking because I think I see that from CBLOL and from Loud so often.
I agree. Like nerves and tilt. I think the tilt in particular because of how the game can start, and that can go a long way. You're on a big stage, different environment, and if you mess up in the first few minutes, especially the top lane dive that didn't turn out too well, you can start to feel that pressure. For me, my reflections on them, they're still a 3-time champion domestically. These players are still amazing domestically, and it's just a lesson you have to take from an international stage. So I'm hopeful for the region and for these players to look back at these VODs going into the next year. It's a tough one when you get eliminated by this one, but at least it makes you develop as a player and as a person.
Just felt tough because this. Sorry, let me readjust that.
Okay.
This really felt like the year where it was going to work for Loud. I think coming in from the beginning till 2-0 in GAM, to what they displayed, Rout's performance in the beginning, but I think it also showed the inconsistency of performance that's always been plaguing the minor region. Because for a lot of them, it is not really a question about are they good players. It's more like, can you consistently show up with a level of gameplay that is justified at an international? And it's plays like the ones you just saw in front of your screen. That is the no. That is the, oh, damn, I can't believe this happened in the official. And that's what breaks it apart for them.
Yeah, and I'm going to zero in on Robo a little bit that domestically is the best top laner. And the champion pool worked out really well for him where, you know, he could play the Olaf, he could play the Aatrox and the Renekton, but then few patches go through that drastically change the look of the top lane pool. Now you can look at it and be like, damn, I need to be a little bit more adaptable in these situations to help out my team.
And unfortunately, it wasn't the case. We saw a replay there of Kiaya popping off. Laura actually spoke to him earlier in his Verizon post-game interview.
And we're back in Seoul after GAM qualified for the best of 5 series that they will play tomorrow. And I have their top laner here with me to talk about this amazing victory. Thank you so much for joining me. You get the revenge against Loud today. And I remember that you guys lost a game last time to a late game team fight bot lane. So how did you refine the approach today to actually stay in control when you have a lead and close out the games?
Thì lần trước á, thì em đã thua Laos ở vì bot lane của mình và ở giai đoạn sau. Thì tụi em đã thay đổi cái lối chơi như thế nào để mà lần này em có một cái kết quả hoàn toàn khác biệt vậy?
Thì lúc đầu thì bọn em boss em đã thua thì do là bọn em boss em không có sự tập trung cao á, thì do là không có sự tập trung nên là đã mắc sai lầm ở những pha đầu nên là đã dẫn đến những cái hệ quả sau đó là game em bắt đầu khó chơi. Thì sau đó thì tâm lý của boss em cũng không có được ổn định nên là game ngày hôm đó và boss em không được tốt cho lắm. Thì sau ngày hôm sau thì bọn em đã bàn bạc là bọn em chỉ cần tập trung và cần làm những gì mà team đề ra thôi là bọn em sẽ đánh đỡ hơn. Thì đó là lý do mà bọn em qua mấy trận sau thì đánh rất là tốt.
In the first game against Laos a few days back, our bot lane made a mistake early game, but that ruined their whole mentality for the whole series. So this time around, we've told them to just focus on what the team needs to do, and they'll be fine. And that's how we got over it.
All right, it gets time to adjust, especially at such an important event such as this one. But you played so well today, and I was listening to the interview you did with the LCK and Subin, and you got the player of the series. You did not expect it. So how would you rate the performance you had today, and more generally, the responsibilities you have with GAM?
Hôm nay em đánh giá cái màn trình diễn của mình như thế nào và cái trách nhiệm của mình với team như thế nào?
Bản thân em đánh giá là đội em nay cũng rất là tốt. Thì nay thì đối với team em thì team em muốn là em chỉ cần làm những việc mà team em đề ra và làm thôi, và em chỉ cần tập trung những làm những cái đó thì team em cũng sẽ dễ chơi hơn. Và điều quan trọng là em cũng cần giữ một cái đầu lạnh cũng như là tinh thần tốt để mà kiểu thi đấu á. Thì hôm nay bản thân em cũng như cả đội đã làm tốt được việc đó.
I think I played well today. What my coaches told me is that I just need to keep myself cool and do exactly what the team has planned out to do. And I think today, me and my teams has accomplished that, and so we got ourselves a victory.
It was an amazing victory, and moving forward tomorrow, it's going to be Battle of the VCS for the qualifier. You know each other really well, but actually when you look at this year, you went 10 wins, 5 losses in your favor against Team Wales. So I guess you guys are expected to win tomorrow, but what do you think of Team Wales' performance so far at Worlds and how strong they are right now?
Thì sắp tới thì em sẽ phải đối đầu với Team Wales á. Dựa trên kết quả trước đây thì Team Gam với Wales sẽ là 10 năm. Kết quả thắng thua là 10 năm. Thì sau những gì em thấy Wales đã trình diễn ở 2 ngày vừa qua thì em dự đoán kết quả ngày mai như thế nào?
Bản thân em nghĩ thì ngày mai giờ trận sẽ rất là khá là căng thẳng, tại vì Team Wales đang có một cái đà đi lên rất là tốt vì họ đã thắng 2 trận trước đó rồi. Nhưng mà bọn em cũng như vậy, thì em nghĩ là ngày mai sẽ là trận sẽ mà quyết định là bọn em Team Wales hay là Team Gam sẽ vào trong. Nhưng mà em nghĩ là bọn em cũng tự tin nói rằng là bọn em sẽ chiến thắng Team Wales, tại vì ở giải quốc nội bọn em cũng đã thắng Team Wales rất là nhiều rồi, và em tin là lần này bọn em sẽ thắng được Team Wales nữa.
It will be a pretty tough match tomorrow because Wales has had 2 victories and their mental state is at best right now, but so are we. And so since we have dominated them domestically, I think it will be no different this time.
We'll see who has the momentum then. Thank you so much, Kiaya, for the interview. And Koa, thank you so much for the translation. And you guys, back to you.
Thank you so much once again. Yes!
Yeah!
Drop the Narmouth moves. Narmouth? No, he's not even here. I made a joke earlier today. Never mind. I'm very intrigued to see how this regional final will play out. And I can't shake the feeling that after seeing Team Wales win, it almost unlocked an extra bit of gear, like performance or like an extra gear in Gam's play themselves, because they almost were surprised in some ways. So I'm very intrigued to see who's going to show up on top. Obviously, it was Gam that got the better of Team Wales domestically. Will it happen again? That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I would actually say in terms of recent performance, Wales has been looking like the better team, but I still think there is this clear better player in the top side with Kiaya over BJ, who is only really looking the best when he's on a champion like Cassante, and on anything else, Kiaya is just going to be the better top laner. So I think that matchup is where I'll have my eyes peeled tomorrow.
And the biggest winner are just the viewers that get a snapshot and a spotlight on the VCS. It reminds me of 2019 semifinals, even though as an LPL fan, you're like, damn, why are we facing each other right now? It also gives an opportunity for fans to see what the LPL is like against each other. So you're like, actually, maybe I'll watch it the next time the VCS is coming. So
this is going to be the highest viewership VCS finals ever, bro.
Boom. I was very excited because, of course, the winner manages to advance to the Swiss stage. Tomorrow we have 2 best of 5s coming your way. Just before I end the day, I do want to apologize. I threw you under the bus pretty heavily.
Just you wait.
I have to acknowledge, I would have thought coming in today that Flying Oyster was going to beat BDS. And I think tomorrow they're going to uphill battle. Let's see if they can.
What's going on here?
All right, listen, if you missed any of the action today, the rebroadcast does begin later at 12 p.m. PET. That's 9 p.m. CST on LoL Esports. We will return tomorrow for the final games of World's Play-ins with our 2 best of 5s starting at 5 a.m. Central European Summertime. That is 10 p.m. Los Angeles time, if I recall correctly. Stop throwing things. You almost broke the studio earlier. I'm going to put these children to bed, no matter where you are in the world. Good morning, good evening, good night. We'll see you very, very soon for the last 2 play-ins best of series. Seriously, stop throwing things. Children behave. You're grounded. Goodbye, everybody.
Get out, trying to sidestep, but they're just taking their time, wait for the charm. Easiest first blood setup ever. A couple minutes ago, Robo once again able to make it out to safety. Pull back. Kiaya now going over for the follow-up. Pull back gonna come through. Now the Q2, Q3, big damage. And Leo's going in the hook. Now 10 ounce for the follow-up. Dash out to safety. Fancy. Oh, 10 ounce! Needs to get the kill, needs to get the resets. Robo on the backside, maybe he can do it. Tinone's going forward, wants to find the kill. But again, despite all of their efforts, Loud cannot find the angle, and it is all falling apart. Now trying to go for the knockup, gonna fish for the knockback. Caddy Tinoe gets flashed to safety, instantly EQ in, the flick back. Oh my God, Loud! That was clean as hell. A bit of a fumble though, the axe not quite connecting, and now, ooh, instant knockback, Kiaya. Oh, he's dancing on him. This should not be allowed. What is this Nard doing? He's just killing two grown-ass men on the top side of the map. Look at that Yordle go.
Trapped on the turret, no teleports available.
Shunn, Glenn's coming out a little bit early here. Feathers fly, Feathers come right back.
Yeah. If you see it, go. Go, nice.
I cannot overhead,
Crownie getting lower. Shunn does a lot of damage. Doesn't have a lot of mana. Adam instantly going to go for the Haymaker. Just trying to buy space for the rest of the team just to secure the Baron, and it pays off.
I'm fighting jungle now, okay? Fighting jungle. Fighting jungle. Look, go ahead. Kill it. She's dead. Fight.
Hits the Q2, he's going to hit the Q3. Oh, that's it! Taric ultimate now coming in. ShiauC is once again overcommitted to the Taric ultimate. Will not get stunned up this time around, trying to pop back, but Adam immediately just stepping forward to the back line. So much damage coming out from the Call of the Meek. ShiauC dead as well. CFO trying to dig themselves out of the hole and only end up digging deeper in the favor of BDS.
What's your play?